I what why am I frozen and I look so upset? This is not indicative of reality, I assure you. Okay. Much better. I'm feeling much better now. I know you were worried. Okay. Percy, our luckiest FIFA tonight with not ambient. It was pleasant. We gotta push it. All right, you make me work for the feedback. You make me work for it. I mean, already, if you have a beat like this, it's easy enough to come in on the beginning, just kind of creeping in your instrumental stuff, pretty much everything except the drums, and make it a beat drop type moment. And you can kind of repeat that kind of verse chorus type deal. And like you're laying down a little melody, why not fill it out with some chords? It sounds like the progression you're kind of outlining seems pretty nice. And that gives you a lot more material to work with. Maybe a different snare. I'm thinking like the sub, we can sauce up more. We can go boo. Maybe we can kind of pitch bend it around, up and down fifths and octaves. That's easy enough to kind of sauce it up and give it movement. And, you know, we don't need to keep the sub flat, especially if we're trying to make it the main focus. I think we should make it interesting. You know, pitch it, volume it, you can wub it, you can give it the 808 effect, you can even have it swell. Or you can use a type of Reese or something just to like give those lower harmonics some type of movement. Or like a kind of filter can do a similar thing, you know. A lot of stuff to mess with. I'm gonna cut off pretty early tonight, so I'm warning you, you best export that joint and get in it. Divine machine. Let's go. Okay, I hope the stream's like decent now. I'm not sure what's happening. I think it should be fine now, but that track went crazy, and I really like it. It's exactly what I want in that, like, it proves you can go heavy as fuck without suckling the root note. Cause like most of the time he's actually hitting like the fifth of the key, which is lower than the root he hits. And that almost makes it even more heavy, even more tense, which is something you don't really hear much. But yeah, when it does resolve, that just creates a point to play with. I think that really stands out because that's been something I've been messing with a lot, and it's kind of just like in a different mode than what we typically expect. And yeah, these are lovely. I love when you hear it. It starts to do like the 2/5 thing. Go in on that more. And there's almost like this like band passy or just like kind of like 1K-ish like peak resonance SoundCloud compression-y maybe thing in these layers. Something about it doesn't sound very open. Doesn't sound very open. And I like how it flips atmospheric and like bassy. Let me think. It is in fact good. I just checked with my sources. It is in fact a banger. I don't know. I'm just thinking the theory of it. Chris Digby said mixo. I don't think it's mixo. It's it's the fifth, but it's the fifth of the minor, which makes it evil. I'm mathing it right now. That makes it like it's not Phrygian, right? Might be. I don't know why, but it's just left my head. It is mixo. No. Okay. I just want to think about it. That's it. Okay. I'm just testing my ear. This has nothing to do with any constructive feedback or anything productive whatsoever. Hope that's clear. Who the fuck is speaking? It's not like I have 2 rats. I'm not sure if I really like the kind of tone of this like hi-hat thing. Like this shaker John of sorts. It is mixo. I was thinking of a different one. No, it's not. I lied again. I don't know. I don't have any constructive feedback apparently, but okay. We got a music video though in GTA, so this is perfect for me. fuck. No, that was spectacular. TBH. TBH fan 100. No, I love that. The best music video I've seen on here, probably, or I don't know. This one guy came in. No, there's been some good ones. No, but this is really cool, and I love how creative it is. Like it's really not like it's not like the work of a craftsman, right? Like, but I think you came out. It still hits good as fuck, and you came out like with the simple idea of just like driving around in GTA, but with some simple but nice visual effects on it. It came out really good. You know what I mean? Like it's not the work of like a trained artist, but like you took what you have and you made something really nice and pleasing, which is a compliment. Not that I know shit about art. Yeah. It distracted me from the tune. Too much. No, it didn't distract me. I was just so immersed in the experience, my judgmental mind could not formulate statements about opinions about the tune. But what I will say is it's nice. I would have maybe just speaking generally, I felt like it just kind of consistently had this kind of muddy sub, whether it was like the Reese or like the kind of wubs you have. I feel like the low end didn't come through very clean a lot. And like you just kind of flutter. I don't know, just something about the low end isn't very crisp. And just the fact that the low end is it gets pretty root notey and pretty consistent in like timbre. I feel like it's kind of like washing over like the texture of it, kind of dulling what we can shine from it a bit, you know. But with the arps in. No, I'm still thinking about warding. I resolved. I have something to say about warding's thing, which could be insightful if you care about theory. It just sounds like minor. Like very pentatonic. But I think like if we're going for like vibes, I think when you're going for like a vibey sound, which is what I want to hear this lean even more into, like we really want to find the progression for it, find the progression and really ride off that. And also I think we can like thicken up the arrangement. I think stuff like reverb or just any type of like pad instrument, just like a consistent tone, you know, whether it's like a pad or a reverb, just something to give it that space. I think can really lock in the vibey feel more than anything. The Reese kind of does that, but I get kind of tired of just the Reese, and I think it's kind of limited when you're not moving the root, you know, and it's kind of limiting the vibe when you're not laying down all these harmonies, that kind of pad stuff. like in terms of working with what you have, though, I think it's really nice. I like the flutters. I like the main ARP. It's all very pleasant. And I still swear by having like some kind of key melodies, motifs, right? Like the ARP is cool, but it's like I say, it gets like wind chimey, you know? When I think having a really just not even really strong, just a strong kind of leading line can really serve the vibes as well, you know? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like lean a little off the mud, a little more into the vibes and the lightness. And you know, you can keep it muddy at points, but let's see if we can kind of switch it up here and there. Or switch it all up. But so Warding's thing on the last song, if you remember that and if you care about music theory, right? I will make you care. So what Warding's thing, I think it was in Phrygian, right? I had to check the books. It was in Phrygian, which is like our typical bass music mode. But the simple fact that like he's not using like the classic like half step whamp 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 whamp, you know, gives it a very different feel. To the point I didn't recognize it was in Phrygian. It didn't strike me as like, oh, bass music-y. But that leads me to say, like, as I've been messing around with theory stuff, like, I think like the cadences you use are just as important as like the chords or like the mode you're in, right? Because I think Warding's tune really stood out. It didn't sound like bass music, womp 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 half step thing, but still went, and it was still in the same mode. I don't know. I like that. And this is one of the rare cases on this stream to talk about music theory more. All right, that's where everything's going. Unfortunately, for you, great for everyone else. But like I like your arrangement. I like kind of like melodies and chords you're playing with. I think like the actual like sound design and production of it is what we can level up to get it more polished. It just sounds very samplery, Very samplery. And part of that is like it is samplery. Like this main kind of instrument you're using is just kind of vocal hit that's like pitched too low or too high, and is also just a little iffy to begin with. Which it's just a sound you're gonna. I mean, if that's intentional, we can keep it. But I'm thinking like. And the other thing is that like the way you're using it, like if you were using this melody like just in the simpler using the sound in a simpler way, just this voice sample, just duh, 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 duh. It wouldn't stand out as like kind of amateur samplery, right? If you had other layers kind of supporting it, filling the other sections. But the fact that you have it hitting the chords and the melody and all that on one instrument, like playing it like a keyboard, then it starts to sound. It starts to have that sampler-ish sound that really sticks out. I think like you can get away with simpler, drier sounds like individually, but when you start trying to play them like their keys, you really want like an expressive, dynamic sound. And also like different sounds want to be played different ways. Like if I load up like a flute sample and I start trying to play it like a piano, like hitting arpeggios and not waiting for the attack on it, it's not going to sound right, you know? While if I load a flute sample and I'm just very like or whatever the fuck a flute does. You know. So you have to be careful of that. A vocal might be better served just kind of more sparse and less played like keys. And maybe what you want to have in this position is like just like a kind of bell or a key pluck sound. Just kind of thinking about sound selection here. But just in general, like you could just layer more things in the background, just what people call ear candy, right? To fill it out. And more different types of sounds, because we essentially have this Reese and this vocal. So we can get some different qualities of sound. So like this vocal is very just kind of like legato. It's very just we can get something that's very bam, 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 bam. We can get something that's this one's playing very keyboard like I said, maybe one of them is going to be really pad like, or one of them's going to be really lead like, so you kind of have this main key instrument, and then you could have like another layer being a lead, another layer being a pad, and they could all have different qualities. In terms of layers. And like a little chorus and reverb never hurt anyone for just making instrument sound better. I can't remember one time it's hurt anyone. Actually. I like the drums. Oh, and the other thing someone said is it sounds happy. Right? I feel like it's trying to sound happy, but it's not sure if it want to sound happy, or like maybe that's the vibe. I would put the ear candy in key, because usually something in key sounds better than something out of key. But some things don't really have a key. But sometimes things you don't think have a key actually have a key, so tune it anyway, mess with it. But like in terms of the happy vibe, like you're messing with the stuff, right? Like I would just watch out for like the flat major scale, right? Like if you just resolve to that just major one chord, it's just gonna have a sound. And usually that sound is really hard to get away with. Even in like stereotypically like happy music, people avoid it. What they usually do is they're in the major scale, but they start on like the 4 chord, right? Or they start on the 5 chord, or they start on the 6 chord, That just like lets you sound happy without sounding so like just so cheesy about it, That makes sense. I'm assuming you can understand something.
Dirty South, here we go. Can y'all really feel me? Baby girl, East Coast, feel me. West Coast, feel me. Can you feel us? Dirty South, dirty, dirty. Can y'all really feel me? Feel it. East Coast, feel me. West Coast, feel me. Dirty South, dirty, dirty. Can y'all really feel me? I got the East Coast, feel me. West Coast, feel me. Go, go, go. Can y'all really feel me? Go, 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 go. Can y'all really feel me? Go, 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 go. Can y'all really feel me? 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 Can y'all really feel me?
Nice track. Okay, I like this. I think the bones of it are nice and it can be very hype. I think I need the processing to give it more energy. You hear what I mean? Like it's like yelling at me, but like its vocal cords are damaged because it was like screaming at a concert the other night. So like I understand you're yelling at me, but it's not quite getting across. And the vocal cords of our bass are synths and processing and drums and stuff, you know. Kind of like But what I think to do, I'm not trying to roast with that. That's just how it's hitting me. I think what to do. So one thing is the drums. I was hearing. So with the drums, I think just a little more saturated, aggressive kick, and definitely like a little more aggressive snare. Like if you solo the drums, or even just drums in the sub, like you should feel like, oh, you should be gritting your teeth just off that. That and maybe, I don't know, maybe like the BPM being a little slower than usual is throwing me off. I don't know. I'm iffy about weird BPMs, and sometimes with tracks like these, like I just like bump up the BPM and I'm happier with it, you know. But that's very subjective. Who's to say one BPM is better than another? I mean, like if common consensus is 140 is good, I feel like they might be onto something, but I don't know. Different BPMs call for different arrangements, and if you're arranging 120 like you would 140, there's going to be something missing in that, I think. Not that that would happen, but and also like in terms of the basses, I think it's a little top heavy. Like this harmonic is sticking out a little too much compared to like the meat of the sub and the mid range. And these gritty guys, like just get some noise, get some distortion, even a little OTT, get a little artifacting going on. I want them fucking mean and upset. In this bass, like I feel like the harmonics almost too loud. Like the highs are too loud, and then this one, highs are too quiet, or which is very picky and obnoxious of me. And this beginning arrangement kind of confused me. I wasn't sure like if we were dropping it, like have we dropped it? I'm like looking around to the guy next to me, and he doesn't know either. I don't know how to act right now, but like just make it clear if that's the drop or like intro vibes. So I would like hold back, be careful about when you start laying down some bass sound design. You know, maybe have it more reverbed or filtered out or no sub, or just make sure to have something to point to in the arrangement saying this is what makes it not the drop and what makes this the drop. I did notice that it did get a little more aggressive sounding on the drums and the basses when the drop hit, but I think we want to pick that up without having to think about it, you know? And also in terms of like giving a character to the track, like if you're like error file not found, I would imagine like we gonna have some like hard drive failure type sounds, you know, just really like bring PTSD to the DJs in the crowd. Producers, Conscious Bandit, your track, it's not working. You must hit the share and then post it. Seeing spectrums. Ooh, vibey pick. Pick has vibes in it. Does the track. That was great. That was great. I feel like as the more stuff I hear you submit, like it starts deviating more into your own sound because you've kind of mastered like the kind of sound palette for like the Charles inspiration. Rest in peace. But I'm liking it. You see, incorporate just more fresh elements into it. More you feel. And I like the progression. The progression immediately struck me like the patch and the progression, it just sounded like movie soundtracky to me in an interesting way, and it kind of like fit this like fantasy vibe I'm getting from this, so I like that a lot. I also really like this like FM bass you have in the drop. Like I get afraid of like the harmonic basses because they get so overplayed, but like this is like the harmonic-y bass, but like the kind of FM on it gives it like this throaty, like warbly quality. It just had a unique texture. It was hitting. Um, One thing that stands out, big thing that stands out negatively is I just think the sub ain't it. Well, it's too loud and it's putting a lot more weight on the higher harmonics, I feel, than the fundamental. Which like I guess it hits on monitors, but I don't know. I just want to feel that fundamental coming through. You know, and honestly, like if you just boost the fundamental and keep those harmonics, then probably get well. You got to bring the whole thing down. But yeah, too loud, too much harmonic. Uh, yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm liking the kind of like kick sub feel in that it's very like I like a sidechain ducking when there's like pretty simple kick patterns. But if the patterns get too complex and I just hear like it ducking a bunch, I don't know. I don't like that. I usually flip the sidechain off. Or what I'll do, I'll try to like get the kick sub phase pretty tight with each other. You know, or the sidechain even tighter so it's like almost imperceptible. You know, and also I'm not a fan of the sound of like you just hear the kick ducking the sub but not the rest of the arrangement. I don't know. When I can pick that out, I don't know. I don't like I don't like that sound. But that's just me. All these opinions probably say more about me than they do the actual music, as is most criticism. But hopefully something be drawn from it. I want more like development, more tension. Like I get the feel of like, oh, we just straight into the drop. We're not doing the EDM buildups. But I think there's really interesting ways to do buildups. You just have to really mess with. You just have to really mess with it. Like really dive into tension. Figure out what gives that feeling without resorting to kicky, you know, riser stuff. Because tension is good. I don't want to rush things. You know, and if we have one more distinct kind of section here, make it that much more a journey. You know, and if it's like it's all magic based, like he got to charge up his magic powers, and it's in the lore. Yeah. Also, the fact that the sub was just as strong from the intro to the drop, and pretty much the same sub, so that makes it a little less dynamic. Love it. Very clean on the mix. The vibe is clear. There's some things that do throw me off, though. No, not throw me off, but that stick out to me. I feel like the drums are a little heavy-handed for the vibe. I feel like the vibe is kind of airy, kind of light. But the drums are like they're trapping it up, which maybe we want, maybe we don't want. And maybe we can have the drums come in a little boofier for this bit here. I'm also thinking, like, more so than your other stuff, that this one sounds very, like, very beat, which could be a good thing. But I feel like it's really, like, making room for, like, you know, I mean, obvious answer is, like, a vocal. If not a vocal, a strong kind of lead. Or alternatively, not that take this track in this direction, but if your stuff is sounding beat, like, I feel like you might want to challenge the arrangement more. And just a little theory nugget. You're kind of going I'm thinking about the theory. Okay, but you're hitting this progression, and it's kind of and that's kind of the progression the whole time. But I like to see some kind of turnaround points. You know, I think it's a interesting thing to do, like when you reach the kind of end of a phrase or the end of a kind of loop of it. So you're going and then towards the end it goes you know, just kind of throw in a change of the progression. I think that can change the whole feel. You just break out of that, you know. And just in all these guys, that they're very, like, kind of mid-high sparkly. But I feel like I'm not getting a lot of kind of warm mids and, like, sparkly highs out of the arrangement. So I think there's room either to layer or to kind of mix with around there. And that's kind of a consequence of getting sine wavy with it. But it's, who wouldn't want to get sine wavy with it? Yeah, the general melodic sound design was really good on that. It's just so clean. Express it. This section here changed the game for the whole track. It really did. Some interesting, funky progression, and just the fact that my complaint for here and the kind of chorus section was gonna be like it's just kind of wall of sound, right? Like we want kind of articulation just in the whole arrangement and just in individual elements when the pad and the bass doesn't really give that here. And the bell is kind of flat. But this had everything I wanted, and it gave a whole new context to what already was there. You know, which is interesting because you know you think to improve the loop you have, you would like actually work on that loop, not like work on the section before the loop. But like it's weird how music works. But here, what I really like, it did break up the wall sound. Like you can hear the sub floating in and out, dynamic. You hear those kind of effects, pad hits, kind of just hitting and then fading out. You could hear this lead kind of modulating pretty expressively, like that. That's what I want to hear from the whole arrangement, you know. And just the fact, just musically, it's just a great section, you know, even beyond arrangement stuff I took. I feel like I'm feeling like an ARP here really creeping in to like rein in this chorus back. Give it that a bit more harmonic meat and also kind of drive the rhythm in one instrument. Also the fact that like the kind of bass, the bass kicks in very just quick and it's like it changes right on time, while the pad takes a second to catch up, and that could be an effect. I would prefer if they were tighter, or maybe like the attack of the pad was even slower and trailed out, as opposed because what's happening now is like it's still hitting the last chord when the new bass hits, which is creating like a dissonance, which could be used, but I don't know, it doesn't. I prefer it cleaner, you know, but that's picky. More of the sauce you had going on here, absolutely. What the hell? That was hidden. That was heavy. I guess you said it didn't bounce right, like you soloed something, so the intro and breaks didn't play. But we still got stuff. We still got stuff. I like the second drop more. I thought its phrases were nicer. The first drop kinda got a little too crazy, too unclear, too random. And a similar thing happened, kind of tapering off here, but like you can hear what I liked in here. You know, it's kind of order. The repetition is much needed in a chaotic world. Another kind of thing to look at is the sub. Like it sounds like stronger on some hits, weaker on others. It kind of flutters louder and softer, almost like you've automated it, but in a way that's not really making sense to me. It's like not really putting. It's like putting weight opposite of where I feel like it should be, and like some hits don't have sub at all. Some have heavy, some have medium. Just watch that and really just get that under your control and command, because that's like sub is the deep shit. Think about it, not the mids. And it sounds like we have a lot of delays going on for the atmospheres, but I think we want to like play with like just kind of atmospheric sounds in general, like kind of quote unquote atmospheres, as well as more reverbs rather than just delays, because it's coming across pretty dry right now. You know, and really like with like your ear candies and stuff like that. Like, of course, your track will sound fuller if you add all those little background details and all that, right? But I feel like I've had the tendency in the past, and I see it in other people, the tendency to like, okay, they just add it. They add it to check the box. When I think if you're really precise and just thoughtful about the ear candies you add, that can really serve the vibe of the track and really give it character. You know, like if your track was a place, what would this place sound like? You know, is it in the woods? Doesn't have to be the woods or a real place. It can be a completely imaginary place. You know, what qualities does that place have? You know, do a bit of world building if you're weird like that. And quote unquote deep shit is not a place. Okay. And if it is a place, it is way overcrowded and overpopulated right now. It's updated. We get to hear the break. Oh boy. Okay. That is cool. And that's pretty good tension. I would say I still would like to hear, like I feel like even without the intro and the break, I should be able to feel a bit of the vibe. You know, like kind of hint at like, oh, we have this quote unquote ethnic vocal glitchiness for the intro. You know, how might we show that or play off that vibe in the drop rather than it being completely news to me, you know? Even though it's nice because it adds a new context to the track. You know what I mean? Kind of adding to that. That was excellent. That was really good. Like I just like the vibey kind of Atmos basis you have. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And of course, I did spot the Bunting ride. That's like everyone's favorite Bunting sample. That's the sample of mine I think I hear the most in here. But the actual track, fire. No, it's super simple, but like it's super meaty. Like it's just mixed well, post processed well on the bass, and like just the rhythm of it is just super like trancey in its simplicity. And I like that. And it's interesting, like I feel like that like trance like element is less consciously explored in dubstep when like in like techno and like house and actual quote unquote trance genres, like that's the whole deal. And I think that's almost really important to electronic music as a whole, is that kind of feeling it can give. And this track does that. It sounds good as fuck. You have this like bit of side chain, which kind of it ducks it, but I think it adds a lot to the rhythm instead of just wah 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 wah. It goes bad it bad it bad it, which makes it even more complex. Makes it more complex than a straight thing, and I'm thinking to make it even more complex. What I was saying, well, I mean, not that this needs it, but I'm just thinking in general. Like we can have complex patterns, but have it be trancy. But what it entails is kind of like accents. So like if I'm playing like this is my trance rhythm, sure, I can go right, or I can go, or that wasn't what the last one wasn't it. But you see, like just by accenting some claps and not others, I'm still hitting this like 16th note rhythm, right? But in the accents, I'm not breaking the flow of that, but I'm making it a lot more interesting and almost trancier, since that seems to be the word of the night. So yeah, and the question is, how can we do that on basses? I think we have to think about our basses differently, because that means we have to like just have some type of automation we can pick out to say, okay, this is how I'm gonna like accent it. Go instead of wah 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 wah, it goes wah 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 whoa wah 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 whoa wah 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 whoa, you know. And that could probably just be the filter, honestly, or a little distortion. But just thinking about those type of rhythms, the sidechain does it here, but we can do it even more. And like if we're trying to flow, like I feel like that's a whole new dimension of flowing that you don't really get if you're just kind of dropping LFO presets you've made, you know? Yeah, metal drums, exactly. They go, you know? Yeah. Let's push our bass sounds to express in that way. Because why not? More music is better, right? You can probably bring up the Atmos a bit here. And you could do the same thing to the hats, too. I don't talk about. Wow. Alright, this nice. Really, I do want variation. That's my red flag here. I like it though. Bass aggressive, or even more aggression, more comb flanger delays, more distortion of all varieties and sauces. Even on the sub, a little bit of noise and distortion on the sub can push that. And yeah, I just want a kind of new patch coming through at points. It gets kind of whiny sounding. Much like me on Feedback Fridays. And if you're making very aggressive, quote unquote, rhythm based music, dubstep, selecta beats, as some have said, where the hell the siren at? Where are the screes? That's what I'm here for. And also, you could do layers, you know, like take that kind of tear out inspo. Yeah, and like in terms of variation, you might be altering the flow, but like we want we want something we can notice. We can notice. No, that's a blunt way of putting it, but you know, I think like we can tweak little variations here and there, and sometimes our inclination might be, okay, we want to make it super subtle, so it's like perfectly smooth. But I think what's musically interesting is when it's not smooth, when you have almost something jarring. You have one flow and then, oh, got you, huh? Got you, and they switch it up. I can't look at that right now. Yeah, where's the ricket? Okay. And yeah, heavier snare, a little heavier cymbals on the hats, a little more offbeat, just quarter note emphasis. Very uncanny. So stinky, yucky, pu. Fire. Check out Meta's first release. Subscribe to SoundCloud.com. I would say this fire. Call me a hater. It's fire. No, I think what I really crave, we just need some a little more driving rhythm. Like if you heard me in the background, I was hitting the he's. I was inspired. But you like You know, that's taking some trap lead inspiration. But just something like on those offbeats, just something percussive. It can be bendy for fun. And that could give a lot of sauce to it. I don't know though, because maybe you want it to be super weird, but I don't think it has to be mutually exclusive or whatever the phrase is. Yeah, just this main bass is sauce. It's sauced out variation. Yeah, no, you did hear that offbeat hat, because I hear it now. Like more of that, more percussion, more swank in that regard. And yeah, I think like an ARP could do a similar thing, but I think we wanted like a bendy rhythmic line, or if you're gonna have pitched, it's got to be bendy, because you don't want to get in the way of that like weird atonal feel. Just mess with more sounds. You have that like classic trappy sound effect. Mess with more of that, and you can like throw it in fills, so you can be you know, like weird, like Star Wars creature impression aside. You see what I mean? Like in terms of we could throw in fills, and they could also be weird and fun if you want to have fun with it. They can be miserable too, if that's the vibe you're going for, but damn, this lead already, you got it. Alright, this is fire as fuck, but for meta, like, just see if you can push the atmospheres and the percussion even more, because that's worth. This lead right here is goated. fire as fuck. Easily like one of the best on this stream night in general. It's just so good. It checks every box. Like it's never like one thing. It's just very well rounded. You know, like the melodic sound design is nice. You have nice just chord progression, nice theory and stuff there. You know, it all serves the kind of vibe that you're going for. It builds hype, it builds tension, and the drop goes in. You know, and all that sound design nice too. Like it's just well rounded type of beat, and I think that's what we want to go for. I don't know. I don't really have any criticism. I mean, I honestly, I love this like gamey lead so much here though that like when this like signy whistly lead, I just don't like it as much. And it's a little high and piercing. Just not as saucy. Maybe like vibrato on it could make it a little more fun. Yeah, and just watch it. It might get a little pointy in the high end with those high guys coming up. And I feel like it's going pretty heavy. I feel like maybe we can push the basses a little harder in post, just a bit. You have this kind of clean sound, but what it just made me think of that when I hear just how much these leads kind of stick out in the high end. It just shows that maybe there can be a little more padding for it. A little room. Drums, percussion, excellently mixed. Oh my gosh, he makes an appearance at this. I think the first time he actually pulled up. No, he's a sleeper pick. He's a sleeper thief pick. I feel like it has a bit of the spooky Halloween vibe, which is perfect given the current time and space we exist in. No, that's funny I say that because that's the I didn't do that on purpose. I don't know. I really don't have any much constructive. I think it's clean. It's just clean. Like it doesn't take itself super seriously, but it doesn't need to. It's just good and fun. Where's like the bee samples? Like isn't it like Special Honey? Like where's the bee theme? Oh, like the leads are buzzing. Okay. The bass is buzzing. Oh, it all makes sense now. I don't know. I think I would almost say it's perfect for what it is. Just about. I'll just see if you can push like squeeze a little more like go crazy hype out of it. You know what I mean? Cuz like it's got the go crazy hype, but like I feel like if I hear it like there's going to be slight hesitance with me. I need zero hesitance. I need full off the deep end, and I think that can come from the bass processing.
I dream about things way beyond this atmosphere.
Oh, and so something I do have to say. So, oh, the track's gone. Okay. I feel like maybe like a simpler bass flow in parts can kind of make it go a little heavier in a sense. Don't quote me on that. That was just a random impulse thing to say. But what I did notice is you had the sub in the intro doing the thing I don't like that all the time, which is it's just kind of following the melody exactly rather than kind of outlining the chords. Which both have their places, but I don't know. I think we miss out if we don't use the sub to color the harmony at some points.
Can you imagine in the black sky? I don't know. I guess I'll just keep reaching. Reaching for the I don't know. I don't know. I dream about things way beyond this atmosphere. Can you imagine in the black sky? I guess I'll just keep reaching. Reaching for the moon. For the I don't know. I dream about things way beyond this atmosphere.
That was nice. I think the best I've heard from you. It's very very world building-y, FaceTime and shit. The cover art to par. And it's just good phrases in the drop. I think the biggest thing holding it back for me is that the bass sounds, they're pretty good, but they're all like root note, you know? I mean, not root note, but root harmonic. Like a lot of what I enjoy out of a good bass sound is that it starts coloring those higher harmonics in weird and magical ways. Yeah, that's what's fun. I think resonant language is really fucking good at it. That's it. This wasn't feedback. This was an excuse to shout out resonant language for some reason. Okay, but you know what I mean. I agree. More tension and release, I guess. I guess. Yeah, I say that because it's the right thing to say, but I'm not sure how I would implement that. Like the simple fact that, like, if you just have this kind of intro sounds repeating from here to here, that and the consistent beat just makes it very, very smooth, almost too smooth. You know, like if you just bring out the drums for this break, all of a sudden, okay, people are like, oh, I gotta pay attention. Like something's changing. You know? Like you gotta give people moments like, look here. Yes. Atmospheric movement. I think we can go a little more in on those kind of like atmospheric samples, a little denser reverb delays, and just more layers on them. I think the kick is sounding a little meaner than the snare. Need the snare to like face a little more childhood trauma to toughen up. Get layered. Get with the gang, you know. Not necessarily samples, but it's nice to have samples like that. And DRM, your track isn't working. It looks like you shared it right, but yeah, just make sure you click the share and that link. Redrop it. No, like the arrangement, you know, because like if you have drums the whole time, then you stop drums, all of a sudden people are like, oh, you know, if you're playing legato the whole time and then a beat kicks in, people are going to react to that. If you're playing all low bassy notes and then all of a sudden you have ring, they're going to pay attention. Just like a lot of you right now are probably paying attention now because I've been speaking the same generally monotonous register this whole time, and then that gets your attention. But if I do re all the time, then that will become noise too, even though it's funny re. You see what I mean? Like this happens with everything in life. And it's very sad, but also very, very right for it to happen. No, I feel bad to speak after that. My words cannot compare to the beauty just witnessed. Perhaps your best yet. Perhaps your best yet. I mean it. In my opinion. And yeah, it's just lovely. This first one was my favorite. I honestly wouldn't mind if that became a kind of a chorus repeated. It does really hit. Like it's a song you feel like you I just be like bobbing here. I'm like, damn, life kind of good. Life kind of good actually. You know that feel. And like the percussion is excellent as always. And I like that this melody it does take that lead role. I do say like singing lead melodies a lot. Like I think like these kind of sequenced melodies that are just highlighting different chords can also be really strong, but don't necessarily have to check that singing box. And in fact, I find them more fun a lot of the time. Yeah, it's just great. And I really like the feel of the drums. Like it feels very good to bob to, but like it's not like a stanky. It feels like wholesome to bob to it. You know, it's almost like the drums are syncopated, but they're not super syncopated. So you're not like swanking out, but you're not like chilling either. You know, it's the right, it's perfect medium. Yes, a composer. That's what we should all aspire to be. And just the atmosphere and the intro, this little texture, like you're not afraid to keep it simple here, and that's what makes it so solid. You know, when you have few elements, you really have to make them count, I think, and you sure have done that. I love how like the sub and the mids and like the little harmonic given the sub, it just sounds so sexy. Whoa, a little bit. Like something about that sub is very, very sexual. No, sexual isn't the right word, but that's how I express. It's very good. That's my word. It's like a little like video game, like wise, friendly monster creature that like he's like coming real deep. That's the shit. That's the shit he be on. This there's something about this repetition. I said I wanted it to repeat as a chorus, but I don't know. No, it's like the new drums. It's just not as driving. Like I feel like if it's gonna repeat as a chorus, I want it to be more exciting the second time. And I think that's generally the chorus formula. But it ended up it just felt like it was tapering out. It felt like, all right, let's mix it out, you know? But I wanna it's beautiful. I want it proud. I don't know. Just some. I don't I and I like the second drop. I just think the first drop was way stronger with the melody sequence. That's nice. That was nice. Interesting, peaceful, chill step vibe type nature beat sauce swag. I really like this part when you started kind of laying down a progression with that bass sound design. But I think it needed a little more structure and repetition to capitalize off that more, because it hit some moments I was like, ooh, but then it did not hit those moments again, and I was like, ooh. And like the BPM's very slow. It's just boop, cat, boop, cat. And that the hats are pretty good pace to kind of make up for that. But I think we need a little more subdivision. So instead of just boop, cat, we can have boop, 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 cat, cat, boop, 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 cat, cat. And that's just as slow, about, hopefully. But it has a lot more just forward motion in it. And we don't need a ton. I just don't want it to feel like it's stagnating, you know? We must flow like this waterfall, not stagnate like the puddle. I think you can still keep the down-tempo feel if you have a little more kicks. But also, it doesn't have to be kicks. I think you can have more kind of syncopated percussion just playing off that drum pattern, right? And like, instead of just the straight hats, you can get some velocity in the hats. You can use stuff that isn't hats, but kind of hit the same rhythm, you know, switch off, you know, whatever, go tipper mode. Yeah, we could just have a bit more layers. Like, I think the rhythmic drive and repetition is what we can most benefit from here. Who is we? So wholesome. I think we go a little bit more into the layers, like the ear candies and just kind of like some mid-rangey pads. You know, you don't have to have it all percussion to be rhythmically driving. You can have a chord going, you know? You can have an arp go, no. And that can further fill the arrangement and serve multiple purposes.
To me, you know, I just love you because you're a gift that I get to experience here in
What VST are you using for these samplery sounds? I like them because they're like, because of the way they sound. They're not super realistic, but I kind of like that about them. That's why. So it's nice and nice main progression you hear. Awesome through. But like one thing I like it, and everything you send, I just hear this like driving guitar thing. And I want to be freed from the shackles of the driving guitar sampler instrument. I felt like it's been about the same texture from what I've heard from you. And I think it's effective, but I want to hear more of like how you kind of pause it in the phrase, you know, and maybe how you can arrange it to say more than just kind of like a 16th note pulse. It's just omnisphere. I would I think there ought to be some dynamics control in Omnisphere, so I would mess with that, especially like on the strings. And like kind of mess with the attack, see if you can glide the notes, because like MIDI strings sound kind of good a lot of the time, even if they sound MIDI. But what gives it away is when they have the same attack on every hit. You know, but if you had do 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 do, you know, having the glide there instead of do 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 do, you know, kind of gives it away. I mean, it's not like we have to hide the fact we're using a sampler instrument. I just think it sounds more pleasant to let it glide a bit. And if there's dynamic controls, definitely grab those. Definitely automate those. They're really impactful. Like musicians spend their whole lives getting better dynamics. I like that yell there. That really caught my attention and dropped down with the Reese. I like that effect. Explore that effect more because it is an effective effect. Attention kid. And also, like, just see if you can get the guitar out of the same guitar-y register. You know, that could also do it. And just break it out of the beat. You know, like, just give it a moment, like, just the strings really going beautifully. And then all of a sudden, the guitar creeps in. Oh, and it's creeping out. Oh, and then the beat comes back in, and it's crazy. And then, oh my gosh, you bring in a beautiful, like, Celestia, like, bell sound layered over it. And then all of a sudden, there's, like, just a percussion breakdown. Boop, doo, 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 boop, doo, boop, doo, boop. Womp, 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 womp. And then the Reese goes fucking, you know. Who the hell just... This a crossover? See, more stanky harmonics, please. Yeah. We on that lucid shit, right? Higher gas. Fire gas. 100 emoji. Reaches. No, I love that. Second drop was the one. I felt like the rhythm of like kind of quarter noting. I feel like it's quarter notes are they're just a little slow for the BPM. I feel like what we can maybe do, but what I found is you can emphasize the quarter note, but you can hit faster notes. So you can be like wop 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 wop, and you still get that wop 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 wop. You know, leaning into the quarters, but also like the syncopation on the percussion here with the quarter notes. It didn't seem tight. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right. Like too swung or right on the verge of like not swung enough. Stream cut out. Don't you can't scare me like that. You can't be saying that. This though, I really like this one. I think it almost leans on the side of too complex though at points. But I really like how you have these multi-part phrases. You know, you hit a big riff, but then you just womp it out in the root. And you can't just throw hits like this around and then never hit them again. For my sake, please, please run up on them. Repeat. And I don't know. I hear this BPM and I wanna scoot it a little higher. I do. I don't know. I wanna understand BPMs more. That's something I haven't really explored. Because I can definitely say that I think I would like this a little more at a slightly higher BPM, but I don't necessarily have any reason to back it up. which I think is you don't music is what you feel first most, but I think it helps to communicate it and determine what really might be best and to kind of just understand it. I feel like we can go a little denser on like some Atmos stuff. We have this kind of squeaky guy at top, but we can have some mid range goons.
My turn. Me. 7. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Fire. No, really solid. This it. I was trying to. I was trying to go hard here, but the beat kept dropping out, thus infuriating me. No, it went crazy as fuck. I love what you did because you start out with just like the bam, ding, ding, with the 154, corny ass wholesome progression. Get that out of here. But then like you flip it. We're actually in like what is it, like harmonic, double harmonic scale, whatever the fuck, like the Arabic type scale, and that's just crazy because it's kind of ambiguous. um you're hitting the 154 and those notes are also in the like the bass music key scale you turn it into, and that just makes for a really smooth and magical heavy transition. Goes crazy as fuck. When it is hitting the 154 though, I don't know. When I heard that, I was like, man, I pray to the gods we are not fated to a wholesome type beat on this Feedback Friday evening. And we weren't. But for the time, I did have to sit through the 154. I had a lot of self-reflection to do. Let's put it that way. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm weird about it. Mess with it. And could at least outline the harmony more. You know, like I feel like there's room instead of just 154 on literally everything. The bass, the guitar, the melody. And what's with like the little kid samples and wholesome tracks? Like that has never struck me with wholesome energy in my heart. And I'm not a hater of kids. Unfortunately. So yeah, I'll just call it the double harmonic scale, but I think it's secretly the best scale for bass music because it has the half step, which is perfect for when you have crazy harmonics, and it has the major third in it, and it has multiple major thirds. Yeah, like plenty of major thirds, but it still has a dark sound, and the major third you want that because that's one of the most common kind of tonalities you're going to get from the harmonic series, which you're going to run into when you're designing sounds. And that's what I did Flux in, and you hear a lot of Tipper stuff in that. I think LS Stream also does that a lot. But it's cool and has an exotic, mystical sound, which I think kind of just fits the vibe in the first place. Now, you don't need to drop the children's samples. That's just how I feel about it. All of this is how I feel about it. This is not law. Or is it? No, it'll be law when my regime is enacted. Stay tuned, Flock Way Up. No, double harmonic minor is better than Phrygian. Because Phrygian sucks. Doesn't have a major third. No, they're both good. I just think Phrygian is becoming overplayed. And yeah, and the percussion on this is really clean too. I don't know, like I really like the drops. I just want something more of substance, more of value, more of interest in the intro sections. And I think if you pull it off on the drop, we're good. Me if I was a cat singing this song. That was my impression. Thank you. Hit the harmonics though. Hit the harmonics on the bass. Ooh. Too scary. Turn this shit off. I am. Oh. A pad, a melody, chords, something highlighting the tones of the chord rather than just bang, ding, ding on every note. Something more rhythmically driving, an arpeggio, which can check all those boxes, but then it's an arpeggio. Peace out. Yes, it does depend on the sound that inspires you. That is, I like that.
This is fucking REWATCH.
Heavy as fuck. Rager alert. And I'm not talking about my massive erection, okay? I think this is some of Odiak's best, and it's a Halloween track, so it wins. No, I like it. It just has that energy. It has that hype. It makes you want to bang the head in a sense on the quarter notes. Like the sub really drives that, and I like that you're playing with the sub too. I say that a lot. I like when they mess with the sub. It's fun. And it keeps the quarter notes driving, even though the bass on top are doing all sorts of stuff, which is kind of a really useful thing to be able to do, arrangement wise. Here though, I would have liked a more distinct variation. You made a whole like fake out moment out of it, but it kind of just kept running it, which like I'll let you run it, but like you're gonna tell me like, oh, we're about to like run it, and then you just are running it singular, not plural. Following? Questionable. For me. Okay. Just a little more high end, or like maybe it was kind of too crushed. Just something about the harmonics aren't breathing in it. Kick isn't my favorite. It's pretty good. It's mix sounds super clean. I'm just listening to kick. If I'll change something about the mix, it would be the kick a little bit. It just has that like mid-rangey, transient, semanticsy sound. A bit of transient's nice, but this one just sounds, I don't know. I get weird about the transients in the kicks because there's too much click, then like you just don't feel the low end. And sometimes if they're processed to have a lot of click, I think it actually does affect the low end, not just its perception. But I don't know what I'm talking about. For real. Another spooky beat. We're on spooky season. Skip to 105. I'll skip to 10. Oh, wait. Oh, there's. Oh. This is also too scary for me. I will need to be tucked in tonight. The closet will have to be checked. Under the bed too. Oh, I like this heartbeat kick I'm noticing. Why did it become Blade Runner? I don't find it very scary, but my mom said I'm mature for my age, so this isn't surprising. This pick, I feel nothing. I know it's not real. I know I'm safe. God protects me, okay? But this was good. This was good. Well, one thing that stood out from the vibe, though, like, this sparkly synth, I feel like it was a little outside the sound palette for the spooky vibes. Maybe if it was a little more drenched in reverb and like RC20 distorted, bricked or something. And the kind of like the synth pad in here also sounds a little digitally. I don't know, get a little more analog-y synth and maybe it'll sound a little more in the place. Maybe a little less brightness on the filter. I don't know. It's real picky and weird about it. But those kind of stood out to me. Like I just hear synths so much that like whenever I make a synth, I want it to sound the least synthy as possible. Or like synthy in a good way. I don't know. I don't freaking know. I'm safe. All right. If Father Digsby says so, then it is true. And I like this. Very soundtrack. I really like it. Kind of sounded like steps coming in, but then it came into this kind of mid-tempo beat, which I thought was really creative and cool. I like it to lay down a little more low end beat on that kick. Just kind of yeah, a little more clappy layer. And I don't know. I feel like I want this to go in a little more aggressive on the sub and that kind of bass you have, as well as maybe amp up the spookiness on the layers so they're not just like a spooky vocal. I mean, like I think the move is like horror soundtracks, at least from what I picked up. I don't know. Also, just it's really interesting to really listen to the sound design and soundtracks in movies, because like that can be our territory too, and to take that inspiration into your music can be very rewarding and fun and cool. But besides that, a lot of horror soundtracks, like they're not laying down like these kind of like vocally notes A lot of them are super atonal, like, you'll just hear the choir, like, everyone's singing a different note. It's super dissonant and scary, and, like, they're playing a violin, but they're, like, bending the pitch and, like, hitting all the scary harmonics, you know? And they're hitting, like, the whacking the metal things. You know, so I'll maybe, like, push it more atonally to get it really, like, unsettling sounding. Because right now, it's like I mean, it sounds like this was what you're going for, but it's like that Halloween vibe, but it's like it's Halloween vibe, but it's not like chilling, you know? But I don't know. Oh, I like this pad going.
Understand it now?
Like this. Very classic psychedelic vibes. I just like the sound selection and those just classic slap and delays. Yeah, the key could get weird in places. I wasn't too concerned because it all became very just like kind of just like timbral to me, less than focused on laying down a clear harmony and melody. Yeah, and just having those dynamics on that synth do a lot for it. We can probably push the sub a little more. Maybe bend it around a bit. Yeah, I think what adds a lot is that the dynamic you do have. It's not bad, it's you know. It's creeping in and out. It's like and that's a cool, it's a very psychedelic effect to me. Get some reverb density in there, and I like you have the nice delays, but I want a bit more just padded stuff that's not necessarily relying on this just rhythmic tap, you know whether that's some really dense reverb or just a single layer, kind of flattening it out. Like you kind of had here, but that's low end, so you couldn't do that here. So I don't, you know, something like that, but mid-rangey, I guess. And it for sure got repetitive. I feel like if we're going for the real trancey psychedelic feel, we should have it almost even more repetitive, or have it be a little more complex, layered, syncopated in its complexity. And that as it repeats, there's more and more to unravel and enjoy. And a little T-spin. Unfortunately, your beat has not been shared with the secret share button, thus I cannot hear it. It's tragic, as I was looking forward to this appearance. But that, or just get more timbres, get more effects. You know, like I feel like the goal is like, even if we are real deep in the trance or mid-range bass, it doesn't have to be a bass. It can be just a pad or a chord or something. Just an atmosphere, sound design. But I think you can push the arrangement without breaking like the trancey feel. You can really challenge it and take it different ways, but it takes quite a bit of nuance to mess with, I guess. But I don't know. See what you can do about that repetition. Either make it want to repeat more, or make it not repeat and take it somewhere. Places, even locations. Few months.
I don't give a I don't give a
This is nice. I think it speaks to the power of just simple moments like these, right?
I don't give a
Yeah.
I don't give a
It's fun harder though. I like that you switched it from like the sub and the lead to like that's the whole bass, you know. You're passing off that riff. I think this though, when I hear this, I want like a little dynamic. So instead of wham bam bam bam, it's you know, kind of rising up and down. That, or it can be flatter, but I think I want a little more aggressive, noisy, or distorted sound. I think you can kind of play some fills. You can go, you know, like at the end of phrases, it's always room to do some fuck shit. And why not fuck the shit in that case? Words to live by. Yeah, I kind of can do similar stuff here. And just a little saucier post. It gets a little heavy on the mids, and you can see it's clearly louder here. Probably is a little more sub I'm hearing. And I just like this moment that catches me after this intro, but it kind of just tapers off. There's not really a big variation to reel me back in. You can even just kind of use those fills to create those moments in more places. Less dramatic, but don't overdo it, of course. And this section went on long without really telling me anything new. I do like the bones of it, but I like to see how I can stretch the arrangement. And the thing is, I've been thinking about the arrangement, like not necessarily musically, but like a theme. So like, what's the theme? Like, are we spooky? We're dubby. Like, so maybe we want to add some more spooky sounds into the arrangement, even though that's the most low hanging fruit possible. But you understand what I mean. Or like maybe we're kind of like this old school terminal vibe. You know, what kind of sound might we add to add this? What kind of samples? And all that jazz. And or you can just simply like same progression, new sounds. You know, same rhythm, new progression. You know, same melody, same sounds, new melody. You know, new progression. You know, like just pick one point to pivot from, and then play with that. Public. No, I like that. Probably your best yet. Some of your best yet, I think. And I just like the techie phone internet culture vibe with all those samples and sound. That's been something I've been wanting to explore more lately because there's a lot of nostalgia and feelings to dig up in that. You know, 'cause that's a big part, at least, of my experience of life and growing up and shit. And I'm sure a lot of other people. It's so weird. It's like clockwork. You see, like, well, it's always been like 80s nostalgia and like all the 8-bit chiptune stuff, right? But like recently, there's been like literally like 2000s nostalgia coming up. You know, like all the Y2K, and you see like these Blender animated videos that like are intentionally rendered with shitty pixel quality, look like a DS or a PS2, you know? And like hyperpop plays on those tropes a lot, you know. I don't know. I just think that's interesting. That's something I want to explore more, and I'm liking to see. And it's the kind of sounds you chose too. Like you kind of have these like sound fonts I found give you those sounds, and you have the internet Discord samples. And okay, let's speak musically though. It's just nice progression. Nice progression. Yeah. Nice little progression. Nice little melody. It teases the beat in and it drops it. And that's really all you need most of the time. And adds a new layer the second time that comes back. I'm gonna check the boxes. I think we can, even though kind of the techie vibe just kind of sticks pretty flat, I guess, if you want to think about it like that. But we can push the dynamic. You know, we can kind of low pass filter this in. I like how I added a distinct intro here to the start. Very happy vibe. Didn't use somatic MIDI. Goated for that. This has drip and sauce. This image is a vibe, as the kids say. What can I say about this? I think it's good at what it does, but let us pursue further utility. Schmo Rice needs the meds for sure. So, if your mom's here, I would recommend you go visit her or put me on speaker. Let me talk to her. Wrong chat. I'm wrong. Happy. Cool. I would definitely pull out more of the arrangement right before the drop. Just put all the emphasis. Happy Halloween, motherfucker. Then drop. Just give that a bit more impact, more contrast. And I think it almost is too dense on the atmospheres. At least push those a little more to the background. Let them sit as details. Right? Details are details. They're not the first thing you're going to notice. So mix them accordingly. Or at least that's how I like to think about it. And you'll find that that's freeing in a way. So you don't have to have everything be so obvious in the mix. Because that's what I used to do a lot. I'm like, oh, if I'm putting this in the mix, it needs to be heard. And I'll process it until everything is so loud. Which you can kind of get to that level where you can hear everything almost equally loud, but it's not worth the pain. And also, a lot of time, even though it might sound okay, it's just not as musical about it than having some things take the backdrop and some things take the forefront. But besides that, yeah, more sub, more basses, more drums, less atmosphere in the mix. I appreciate the wholesome vibes from Gigawatt and the unhinged vibes from Smell Rice. We all bring something unique to the table. Headcanon just got here, so I'm still determining his vibe. His vibe is asking me about the next tutorial, and thus he will be exiled. Yeah, and just a little better, riffier phrases, something you can remember. Get some notes, get some half steps. And I like this here, but I feel like there wasn't a lot of setup, and maybe the kind of bar count's weird. If you're gonna have a big variation like this, make sure it's at like the 16, 32, or bar count type. And yeah, could taper it off. Taper it off here and build up to another drop. They're just too crowded. It's the main thing. Nah, come on, bro. No, that was good. I did like that. I like the vibe of like very ambient, but then the beat comes in very not ambient in a way. Think about it. Very no, but like it like the same arrangement, but just adding that pumping four on the floor. It just it just makes so much sense. And I do like the unnecessary distortion vibe. You pull it off here, and the kind of digital fuckfest aesthetic really brings it all together. Feel like losing me a little bit here. But just with how strong it comes back in, the tension was right there. I would say like I feel like this is a big thick arrangement to do some sick like synthy solos on off the top of my head. And like see how we can break up the wall of sounds. You know, if not here, then in the break. You know, or you can have like kind of capitalizing off the trashy, glitchy digital vibe, like all the stutters. Stuttery effects, kind of redux, all that, all those genres and more. Only available at buntingmusic.com. Yeah, and it's like I feel like you could just have a section with just the kind of chords and the melody. Just really feeling it out without the sub. And even that on its own, I think could have a lot of impact, as simple as that could be. Why it like I didn't even realize what I was looking at. Kind of looked like weird like abstract building at first. He's very artistic. But it's in fact FL Studio. Hashtag trash wave. Chris Digby, bless your kind heart. Merry Halloween. I agree. The potential is pretty heavy. The arrangement. That chord there. All right. For whatever reason, it really started sitting with me at this end-ish section. Yeah, this part didn't really come together clearly enough for me. And it's just kind of lacking that clear, like, 2/4 snare cadence in the drums, which makes it a little iffy. And there's just like this kind of like lo-fi effect over the whole thing, which doesn't sound intentional. So watch processing, don't over EQ, don't over process stuff, don't under process it either, but mostly don't over process. The arrangement's pretty nice. I think like the sound selection be a little saucier, a little more dynamic. Yeah, and we it feels like we kind of never arrive because we never hit a pretty straight beat. Yeah, and the bass line is also pretty hectic. It kind of it makes sense in places, but I still think we can kind of simplify it, have it kind of hit some more root notes. I think we could be a little clear on the structure, like a bit more like clear like where it's going. So it can be like, okay, we're starting off small, but then we're clearly going somewhere, and then okay, big moment here, taper back down and back up. But I couldn't really tell where what level of energy was coming across to me. Like, it was sounding pleasant at points, but I wasn't necessarily like, oh, ooh, you know? You gotta make them ooh. Why are there schmo haters in the chat? This is not what God intended, nor his prophet Muhammad. Yeah. It's a bit more clear with the energy, clean up that mix lo-fi, and kind of simplify some drum beats and bass lines, lay them down. And probably get a little clearer layers in places. You know, it can be a little thin in part.
Front to the back. Skanking the rave.
That was a slapper. I would say something that threw me off this sound here. I did not like that just kind of flat saw wavy sound. I found we had these nice distorted tones and nice harmonics, but then it just hit me with the init patch. Come on, bro. No, it might be good in some place, but here I feel like it just sticks out from the sound palette, and it's just not. It's just a really flat tone compared to the other sounds you have going on. At least to me. I like when you have the harmonics on it, but when it's kind of flat, I guess it's like kind of square wave, distorted, whatever. You know. It's nice though. Like, it is a deep dubby track, which sketches me out per usual. I get scared easily. Okay, but it's clean. What it does.
Front to the back.
Clean drums. I feel like percussion doing a little too much in a way. It's just like just lay a flow for me. Let me. And this kind of like that dub echo snare comes in a little loud. I feel maybe turn on the dry wet so it doesn't ring out as loudly. And I don't know. I find like if we're gonna be like dub echoing the snares, we should have a little more kind of reverb mixed into it. Because like that's a classic dub sound, is that like spring reverb, spring delay effect. Where it gives a lot of atmosphere and feel to the track, but if it's just a dry delay, you don't really get that. Reverbs are important. I used to not be a weird like reverb downloader, but eventually you run out of bases to design, so you gotta be weird about something else.
Skanking the rave.
Yes, I'm a designer. Don't tell him what kind. Don't say the dubstep word. Trust me. I don't need to know that. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the variation here in general. Just the phrase. It was could be a little riffier in the beginning, but here it doesn't really vary super clear and just doesn't really get me locked in. And maybe just a little more distinct on the kind of notes to get a bit of a saucier riff cadence going, rather than the kind of just so bendy and rooty. That was pretty nice. Really threw me off this build up though. I think filters project a little more dynamics than just volume, especially on synths. And also, like, the build up, it just had a weird bar count. Like, I didn't feel like it was hitting what expected. Yeah, just hold back a little more, just feel it out. Yeah, and just from this title alone, I can tell you something ain't right. It's because C is a really rough key. C is a really rough key for sub. Because if you have it at C0, that's too low for most systems to play. And at best, like, it'll play decently on like a home system. But on anything bigger than that, it will not project well at all. You know, like, technically E flat is about the lowest you should go. But you can get away with D, kinda. It's risky. And below that, forget it. You can have it at C1 though, which is an octave above. But that's a little too high to be that, like, full body rumbling sub. You know, so generally C minor is a little sketchy. If you just transpose it up like 3 steps, you should be good. But then, like, your high octave stuff's gonna be even higher. You know, it's just messy. It's a annoying thing to have to work with, but it is the limits of our technology. Yeah. That's because C is the key. Yeah, just the subs sound very high on here. Very much in the mid-range. Yeah, I want like a little more high-end, just a little more loudness, fullness, a little saturate, a little OTT. DC basses, they just aren't coming through very clear compared to the rest of what's going on. Yeah, they just aren't very loud.
Oh yeah, tractor beam. Suck you right in.
Yeah, I think we should for sure. I like this second drop more. It kind of plays off the hecticness in a fun way. But generally, I think we should simplify the phrases, get some kind of riffs going that are a little easier to remember. And I think easier to remember kind of parallels easier to understand, which usually means a better phrase. You know, like they say, if you really understand something, you can explain it simply. You know, so if you really have a good sense of musicality, I think even someone who's not breaking it down and big brain jazz dubstep guy could resonate with it. I like this description. It's forward and wholesome. sub. Too much Atmos when the bass hit. Give him room. I would let that bass moment kind of see its way out within that sound palette before just kind of dropping all the atmosphere stuff on it. Just let the basses kind of fade out, maybe reverb wash them out to get that smoother. And I really like the atmosphere work, like people trying to make atmospheric music, but and all the deep shit, but they're just not going in like Kevin Fortnite with Stranger. Distort those basses, just a little, and low pass filter shit for movement.
Your suffering is almost at an end.
Give me more hats too, more offbeat hats, more swag.
Your suffering.
Yeah, I want the loudness a little more consistent between the atmosphere and the bass. It just feels pretty incongruent. And maybe we can kind of use this bass in the atmosphere. We can reverb it out, manipulate the sample, mess with the sound design. Because if it's super drenched in reverb and delay, anything can become kind of that atmospheric effect. But that means you can transition it better into the drop and have more fun with it. And I think almost it just, they kind of wash into each other. I think we want to clear just you can even give it just that pre-drop. You know, so it's just not so washy into each other. Just clear divides. You can even have just a kind of extra section, like stop. All right, it's building up, it's transitioning, then it's in the drop, you know? What the hell? What the hell? Sonica from Sonica.com. You're repeating on me. I heard you the first time, Sonica. Alright. The first thing that stands out is the fact that we can get it more dynamic pretty easily just by having sections, intros, breaks, verses, whatever you want to call it. We don't need the sub going the whole time. And the beat drop is an important moment. Like, even people are not into dubstep, like, they know what a beat drop is. It's a thing in trap, it's a thing in beats, big moment. And it can be as simple as just taking out the drums and the sub. Really just taking in and out the bass and different percussion can do most of the arrangement work for you, especially in the world of beats. That's some of what you are going to feel the most. So do that. Just don't get it so flat and looping. The other thing is, when it hits the second loop, it is in key. On this first loop, it's not in key. Transpose it, change the bass notes, something. Figure it out, find the keys. I'm not here to tell you the keys, even though I usually would. I feel like as musicians, if we want to make good music, it is our responsibility. If you're okay with stuff sounding out of key and thus losing out on potential goodness from your piece, my hands are clean. No, you know what I mean. Like, no excuse at this point. Schmo Rice, you're too real. Especially for the super pair flying. That really inspires me on my journey. Truly. And I would also say, like, we don't need the sub so root notey, Like, because when you find the key, it opens a lot of musical doors for you. Like, because, okay, we found the key, the root note. Okay, this is the key. What's our chord? How is our chord playing within the key? Okay, so this is the root note of our chord. So all of a sudden we have two bass notes, and that makes our 808 a lot more slappy. And just, have the bass follow chord progression. Nice thing to have. So must I explain? Super, that's right. Conscious Brandon, you're too real as well. There's too many real ones tonight. I can't handle it. This tune is lovely. was excellent. Ooh. Ooh, the grain. The grains. That's some whole grain action. No, that's great. I haven't heard the run go this hard. And hard he went. And I like how you brought it out to this kind of break outro, but you kept like the bass going. I just like that effect. I feel like you hear that in a lot of classic dubstep. They like, oh, drop, but now we're like using it instrumentally, like kind of a verse. And it's fun. You know, like your sounds are instruments. Like, don't just be like, all right, one sound, do this, and next sound, do this. That's your one job. Stay there. Do not move. I'll be back. You know, like in the real world of real instruments and real human beings, not weird nerds such as us, we do a lot of things with one instrument. So let's not limit ourselves there. A lot of words. Clap a little weird. This second bass is really mean. I think a little too OTT'd. Meanwhile, this one maybe isn't enough. I think you could use a little kind of layer-ish, like high-end distortion, little distortion. Yeah, a little more prominent hats and top percussion to kind of drive that forward. Drive the energy. Maybe just like a bit of notch filter, just something to make it a little less flat, like notch, phaser, flanger, just those kind of stuff plus distortion. Well, notch plus distortion. I don't know. Just I find that can richen up a sound. Even just little peaks moving. You know, anything to add a little more harmonic complexity. How I think of it. I feel like this is kind of like this energy is way grittier than this, and the energy previously is a lot more tame. I'd maybe like to hear this kind of lead become all fucked up, like it kind of like distorts as the drop builds, or like a new synth comes in when the build up starts that's like really like kind of saw wavy and more aggressive sounding. I don't know, there's just kind of incongruency in the vibe. I think we can have a kind of middle ground to bridge it. Even in just like a layer in this parts could have that effect. Umami. This picture is kind of vibey. This like major like 2000s marketing to young boys. Oh. Disperser time.
Formation C, huh? Understood.
Give me more sub. Give me offbeat hat emphasis. Give it. Give me some fills. If you're right here, you go.
Seems he's still alive.
Oh, like that. Doesn't have to be vocals, need percussion. And you can't have a big moment like that without like varying it up, giving a new harmonic, giving a new sound here. Add the ring. By that, I mean the siren scream. Why? It's 2022. Why are we still not adding big sirens to rhythm tracks? I mean, isn't that literally like what everyone's doing secretly? But not on feedback stream. See, notice that's why you're on the feedback stream and the guys with the sustain basses are playing at their friend's house They're on the come up. Yeah, bits and pieces of atmosphere of the break. I agree. Like I don't know. Like I feel like it can seem if you're trying to go hard, it can seem like it can seem like atmospheres and intros and breaks are a chore, but I really think it's an opportunity because there's so many tracks that are going hard, right? But not many tracks that are telling a story. So if you can do that through your intro breaks, that and a lot of times you could just go harder by having a bit more of a theme, a world, a context, and just a build up too, you know? I don't know why it's just become the standard like rhythm tracks have no tension and it's just very simple. Like I've kind of written it off as that's just what like the quote unquote old school or like OG rhythm does, but I feel like missing out a little bit. Thank you. What the hell? Fire? Hold up. Nice ass sub. It's too low here though. You see, too low to register. These chops. Log type music. No, this is nice. It's just a nice beat and has a cool, funky energy. It's pretty unique. I think I want to hear like, want to hear it go. I want to hear it go places. I want to hear it go places. And I want to like feel where the energy is clear. Like it does cool stuff, but there's no moment I'm like, all right, we're building up. Like like he's baking it down, or he's baking it up. Like he's just kind of baking it pretty straight, which can get you get familiar with it, and when you get familiar with it, you tune it out, and when you tune it out, you have grown numb and weary or whatever. No, you know what I mean. Just fluctuate the energy and the arrangement a bit. More than variation. I say variation, but really, what you want from it is shift the energy level. That's what people pick up on. Even if you're not changing much, even if you just take out the drums for a section or take out the sub, that can do that. It's not a big variation, but it definitely shifts the energy. Just the drums and chops were so tight. I don't really feel like I want much more, but see how much further, just how many different energy levels you can express within that, or just slowly experiment with seeing one more element you might be able to.
Meaningless absurdity of life, wrote Leo Tolstoy, is the only incontestable knowledge accessible to man. Our time is burdened under the
Sounds
cumulative
like
successive
mastering
debunking
presetted.
of our conceits. We're Johnny Come-Latelys. We live in the cosmic boondocks. We emerged from microbes in muck. The trapdoor beneath our feet swings open. We find ourselves in bottomless freefall. We are lost in a great darkness, and there's no one to send out a search party.
Drop hits and you forget the root note. You gotta hit the brown, 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 pickle, brown, 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 but it's not it. Yeah, and the production's nice. It sounds nice. It's pleasant, but it's wind chimey. You know, the melody. There's nothing really discernible about the sequence, about the pattern, about the phrase it's laying down. Just kind of sparkly sounds. And the same with the bass. Like, it's doing stuff. It's going. Mix isn't bad, but there's nothing concrete. If you were to ask me how did that drop go, I have no fucking clue, because I never listen. No, it's not because I never listen. It might be, but because there's just nothing distinct. You know, like iconic songs, they have a clear riff. You know, like I say Iron Man, you know exactly how that song goes. And that's what made it so successful, you know? And I say like Jade Cicada, like you can remember some of his riffs off the top of your head. Like, right? Or like, just think of any iconic song you like, and they have a lot of simplicity and just very strong riffs, very strong musical ideas at the basis. And they repeat. They're not just kind of noodling everywhere. And that's what this is doing. It's noodling, and that's a lot of words to say. Something I could have said.
There is no generally agreed upon long-term vision of the goal of our species, other than perhaps simple survival.
So
Especially
true,
when times are
very
hard,
insightful.
we become desperate for encouragement, unreceptive to the litany of
No, I've always wondered why they did that. Like, I just hear songs, like on the radio or something, and I'm like, damn, the verse just fucking sucks. The transition sounds like shit. And that's even before I knew what the fucking theory was.
But if our objective is deep knowledge rather than shallow reassurance, the gains from this new perspective far outweigh the losses.
He's laying down the progression here, though, which is nice, but kind of losing it a little.
Come, our fear of being tiny. We find ourselves on the threshold of a vast and awesome universe.
Yeah, like, I felt the structure kind of show itself a little more here, but lean even more into that.
Shortly after the Big Bang.
That's cool. As for your sub, you asked for help on the sub. Like, just a sine wave is good. Like, literally, if you just have a straight sine wave, and if you check it on the spectrum, check it on the EQ, and it's at pretty much just hitting the right number in proportion to the rest of your mix, it's gonna be good, right? What happens is you process too much after that, and then the levels are weird, and the sub is getting squashed out of the way of the limiter, you know, and all that stuff. Literally, like, just a sine wave, and if it's at the right level, it's fine. You know, feel free to add some higher harmonics or, like, distort them in. But I have a whole video on sub bass. And Kava, your track, it doesn't seem to be working. Watch my sub bass video. It answers about every question possible about sub bass. I've crafted it as such. Okay. Harmonics are nice. Get it off the root. But I feel like he's getting so notey with it. It's gonna be, why the fuck am I like this? Okay. He's getting so notey with it that it's kind of hard to be super harmonic when you're hitting so many notes versus just a root. But the fifth and the octave work well. I could already say it's probably coming in hot. A lot of time, if you have this pretty full bass and drum arrangement, you can creep it in more. You can milk it out. Let DJs mix it in.
Hit it with a high and a low.
And there is a very annoying mosquito tone, which I really don't like at all. This is very unfortunate.
Yo, hit it with a high and a low.
No, that's hard.
Yo, hit it with a
That low note? Yeah.
yo, hit it with a high and a low. Yo, hit it with a high and a low.
Now, let me explain something.
Okay, I'm not listening to the mosquito tone again. And here's a weird thing. Like, it sounds really girthy when you hit these low notes, but when you hit the high notes, it sounds thin. Probably like you have an EQ that's only really resonating nicely in one spot. What you can do is design the sound to kind of be that thick without the EQ. Or you can tune the EQ, automate it to be different at different points. Okay, I fucking hate squeaking. Okay. I don't know what the other thing was. Or you can resample the thickest bass sound out of it and then use that in a sampler or as audio, so it's the same thickness on every hit, right? Also, sometimes like it just sounds girthier on lower notes because like the formant. And if you have a kind of formant shifter or like something that can keep the formant in place, like Vital's vocode, it can sound a little more consistent across the board. It's a weird thing. The formants. I don't know. I don't know much about it. But it's weird to think that sometimes holding the harmonics in place can give you a more consonant tone than they shift like they probably should. Yes, key tracking can save time. Yeah, and some of the notes when they get high, they just sound very flat, video gamey. Give us some flanger, give us phaser, give us a little notch. Little peaks.
Oh, hit it with a high.
and something to watch out for. Like, I'm not sure how to the vibe that's coming across, because it sounds like it's trying to lay down a really heavy, like, root note stank type beat, right? But it's if you really listen to it, it's a very major sound. Dan, 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 dan. It's like 1-4-5, you know? Which maybe you want to hit like a minor third in there. Maybe you want to like hit the half step in there. Maybe like flat 5. I don't know. But I don't know, there's just kind of a weird incongruency in there if you're being picky and weird like I am. You know. Yeah, and give me something here besides the kind of same kind of flat bass we've been working with. Give me something. Give me an atmosphere, give me melodic. Give me chords playing off that same progression of the bass. Give me another instrument playing the bass. Or just take the sub out of it so it has more impact when the drop comes back. You know, add more effects, just something. Got me here. Beginning didn't seem to demand my attention though, but I like that. And could be a little tension to perk the listener up. Like these sub hits here. Ooh, the bend. Fuck yes. Yes, I like Devo's suggestion. Yeah, just really dry fill. Get there. That can also work. Just the simple transition, so disrespectful. Play with the whoop. Play with that. Give it some new purpose. Pitch it up, pitch it down, reverse it. New timbres. New processing. That's cool. And something I thought about that, I don't know if I realized, which makes me respect this gentleman further, is you took a lot of these pictures. Right? And like the pictures in your whips. And you took this underwater. Maybe? I don't know. It just gives the vibe that this is something you took, which I think is cool and kind of adds some authenticity to the brand and just a neat thing. But yeah, that's all for tonight. That's it. I might slip theme in personally later, because that's his theme, okay? But for the rest of you, you are not theme, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm out. Good sesh. I just think it's solid. You know, that there are a few that really struck me out. Not really any that were utterly disappointing. Like, I'm just seeing steady progress from the boys in the flock, which is ideal. Because we don't need anything special. We just need to keep stepping forward. On that note, if you haven't had enough Bunting and Flock Flip tomorrow, beat battle. It's going to be fun. And if you want to rewatch the stream, link in the description, as well as some links to support me if you want. Gotta set the midnight alarm to wake up to drop it. No, I'll DM it to me, just because you're right on the line, and I'll peep it in due time. On that note, though, peace. Have a good freaking night. Keep at it. Really, just keep at music. Because I can say a lot of things and can give you a lot of ideas of, okay, I need this. I gotta stop doing this. I gotta stop doing that. And that's great. But don't let that get in your way. You know? If you make music, if you sit down and make music, you've already won. And you'll be improving. You know? And that's the beauty of it. It can be as simple or complicated as you want. So, good night, folks. Those are my words.